Who asked you? Nobody asked you. What you mean we? Who is we? You speak French. What's up, little enzymes? Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic of today's video is entitled Family. And we actually have two stories from our subreddit that two of you posted there. And so we will be reading those. One is kind of an entitled family situation. The other one is going to be the malicious compliance. Just a reminder to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video. And let's get into it. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give birth without epidural? I, 24 female, found out this week that I am pregnant. Me and my husband have only been married for 3 months, so this pregnancy was unplanned and I'm still trying to process it. However, I am willing to go through with it and we're both happy with the news. My mother-in-law has been pressuring me as soon as I got married to have kids since her other son and daughter-in-law have suffered with not being able to have children for the past 4 years, so she's really persistent on wanting grandkids. As soon as I found out I was pregnant, my husband and I told my in-laws about the news in hopes that they would help us out with doctors and things of that nature since we're unprepared. Some friends and family came over last night because they heard about the news and were very excited for me and my husband. My husband's cousin is also currently pregnant, so her and I were talking a lot about everything going on for us. She was saying I need to get good health insurance before I give birth in order to cover delivery, potential C-section, aftercare, etc. She was educating me a lot and also told me that epidural cost too, etc. My mother-in-law heard her mention epidural and went on to say, well, we won't be needing any of that anyway. Bleh. I know you lying. Who asked you? Nobody asked you. What you mean we? Who is we? You speak French. I asked her what she meant, and she says, the epidural is unnecessary. It makes things way too easy. Women should have their babies the way nature intended. I was in shock, and so was everyone else in our living room. I naturally have a fear of childbirth after the horror stories I've heard, so no epidural is out of the question for me. I told her I outright refuse to have this child without epidural, and that's not her decision to make. She became super offended, and once our guests left, she told me I embarrassed her in front of them by talking back to her. Okay, good. You should be embarrassed. So maybe next time you'll learn your lesson and you keep your mouth shut. What you mean? Talking back? What do you mean? Oh, no. See, I already see where this is going, sis. You need to start setting some boundaries immediately because it was already a little bit of a red flag, her pressuring you to have kids as soon as you got married. But then her already being overly involved and the baby is not even here yet? Boundaries need to be set and enforced. She don't even need to be in the delivery room. Honestly, she don't even need to know when the baby is due. She don't need to know the hospital, nothing related to the child. And very short visits until the child is old enough to be able to speak and let you know what's going on over there at that house. Or at the least supervised visits. But I would not trust my child with her at all. She's exhibiting red flags already, in my opinion. I could be being dramatic, but she is exhibiting signs of a person who I would not feel comfortable having my child around. She told my husband he needs to straighten me out. My husband told her it's ridiculous to expect me to have a child with no pain relief, and she responded with, well, I guess a baby is having your baby. It's been 3 days and she refuses to speak to my husband or me. My husband is now telling me that in order to keep the peace and move along to just apologize to her and possibly reconsider the epidural. Come on, husband. Where's your shiny spine? I thought you had it. And then you doubled back. Come on, this is your wife. This is your future family. F what the mother-in-law got to say. I told him I have nothing to apologize for since I didn't say anything wrong, and I will not be reconsidering my decision. He thinks I'm holding a grudge and being disrespectful because his mother only wants what's best for the baby. Someone please tell me, am I the a-hole? Yikes. Yikes. I don't see this ending well. Unless the husband can come to his senses, this is gonna be a nightmare for you. Him acquiescing to his mother, trying to dictate how you should do things pertaining to your own body is not okay. And him being maybe just to keep the peace. We don't need no peace. I don't need peace. I have peace within myself. I don't need peace with her. Why? I'm gonna follow this because I just know it's gonna be I just know we're gonna get an update some months from now. So Beneficial Noise says, you know when people ask, are you prepared to die on this hill? Not the a-hole. This is a hill you fight and die on. Do not give ground. Explain to your currently crappy husband that he now gets to decide if he is going to become a father or stay as a son. Explain that marriages have died for less. It's not her freaking baby, so he needs to step the F up. Facts. Excellent choice of words. Become a father or stay as a son sums it up nicely. Novelli quoted the post, his mother only wants what's best for the baby, end quote. No, she doesn't. She didn't even mention the baby, and epidurals don't hurt them anyway. What she wants is for OP to feel pain. She said as much. She thinks that nature intends for women to suffer, that it is inherent to our condition, and it isn't. Nature doesn't intend anything, it just is. If nature had feelings that were for some reason super misogynistic, a lot more animals would have difficulty with childbirth. Humans only have a hard time because while our brains got bigger and we started walking upright, our skull size and pelvic shape didn't quite keep up with each other. But humans were still able to birth enough live young that evolution never needed to iron out the kinks. And if nature did have intention, it would probably prefer we all pass, so we stopped messing it up. Mother-in-law's opinion has nothing to do with nature and everything to do with misguided, old-school misogyny, and she is wrong. Pain does not equate to piety, but compassion does. Fit Detective, not the a-hole if keeping the peace involves allowing someone else to dictate how you give birth. That's not peace. I once read that there is a difference between real peace and seething peace. Seething peace looks nice to outsiders, but everyone is secretly miserable and resentful. Eventually, something blows up. Enabling mother-in-law is seething peace. Wow, these people are spitting in these comments. Disastrous Bee says, screw that. They can start discussing supervised visitation. I wouldn't want that woman potentially alone with my child. That's what I said. I'm glad somebody else said it. I thought I was maybe being a little bit dramatic, but I would not trust her. And I think this is so sad and unfortunate because they've only been married for 3 months and now they already have issues. I honestly would go so far as to have a suspicion that mother-in-law maybe had a part to play in them getting pregnant so fast. I feel like she's that crazy. I could just feel it. My radar is off the charts right now. Oh, son, here's some condoms, be careful, And this little tiny holes poked in it. Cause how y'all, I don't know how long y'all was dating, but how so soon after you get married, you just accidentally, she didn't say how it happened, so I'm really making a huge assumption, but I don't know. I'm definitely following this post. I can definitely see some crazy updates coming from here. I wish her the best and I hope she stands her ground. But if they can't get it together, this is gonna be either a very long marriage or no marriage at all. So the next story, am I the a-hole for making my family cancel their vacation because I won't watch their dogs? My parents, 82 male, 75 female, asked if I would help them book a much-needed vacation. They also asked me to do the same for my brother, 43, and sister-in-law, 33, because they wanted to take a family vacation in September. My husband, 46, and I, 41 female, can't afford to go because I am currently out of a job. That is very responsible of you. Even though this would be the first family vacation I will have ever missed and it made me really sad, I said, of course I'll help. My mom even mentioned to me that in a way it's good because I'd be able to watch my brother's pugs and my parents' chihuahua. Here's the thing about watching the dogs. It's a 24/7 job that requires me to stay at my brother's house. The dogs are wonderful, but very high maintenance. Because of this, I have been telling my brother for nearly 10 years that he needs to hire a dog sitter. Money is not an issue for him. I've dog sat for them 3 times this past year, varying from 1 to 5 nights. They paid me well, but I do not feel comfortable staying at their house, and I find the round-the-clock care exhausting. My husband and I have 5 cats, and we are no stranger to feeling like our pets are our kids, but we don't have dogs for a reason. Now, I'm supposed to be booking this trip for my brother, but he hasn't even asked me about watching the dogs. Sunday at family dinner, everyone is there except my sister-in-law who was ill. My brother was sitting across from me, so I reached out to hold his hand and say that I love him, I love the pugs, but I can't watch them when they go on vacation, and that he needs to get a dog sitter. I said it was just too much to ask me to be trapped at their house for 7 nights, and that I have been asking him to hire a dog sitter for nearly a decade. I even offered suggestions and said I'd help find someone. He starts to get reactive and says that they won't watch my cats anymore. I said that's fine. We have a cat sitter, but I point out that I ask them if they can help. They, on the other hand, didn't ask me. My brother finally concedes that it is a lot to ask 7 nights and 5 dogs. Excuse me? Yes, 5 dogs, because his mother-in-law apparently was planning to go too. So now, added to the mix are 2 Italian greyhounds. Girl, it's not enough money in the world. You already were feeling apprehensive with just the 3, and then he springs 5, and then they didn't even ask you? I stay calm and gently point out that I felt this way before knowing there were 5 dogs. Can he imagine how I felt? He seemed to understand. By the time I left dinner, there were hugs and kisses and all was well. I knew my brother was upset, but he seemed to understand, and I was really proud of putting up boundaries. The next evening, I called my parents to see if they have heard from my brother. Apparently, he called them after he got home from family dinner and was blindsided by me. My sister-in-law was just as upset as him too. They think I'm throwing a tantrum because I can't go on the vacation. While yes, that sucks, I told him my real issue is being trapped at their house for 7 nights. Now they are canceling the vacation because I won't watch the dogs. Am I the a-hole for telling them I won't do it? No, not the a-hole, and they're being petty. You said money is no issue for him. He can easily find someone to watch the dogs, unless the mother-in-law can't find someone for his 2 dogs. But the disrespect in this whole thing, for them to assume that just because right now you're not working, oh yeah, she'll watch the dogs, and not even ask. Feelings of being trapped aside, I wouldn't do it just because of basic principle. You didn't even respect me enough to ask and just wanted to spring it on me last minute. So Having Hope says, not the a-hole, they are grown people who had plenty of time to find arrangements for their dogs. Didn't they have somebody else to watch the dogs when you all travel together? Is this a weird ploy to punish you by making you feel guilty or something? Seems reactive. Opie said, the only time we have all traveled together was for my brother's wedding, which the dogs came to. This would be an international beach trip, which we haven't had in, I guess, over a decade. To be fair, he couldn't go on the last trip in 2015, and I went, but I only had one cat that had no special requirements at the time, so my roommate watched her. So I feel bad for him not being able to go on family vacation, although it feels self-induced to me at this point. But I am very emotional and I can't tell if my judgment is clouded. Lego Panda Bear says not going is his choice. He could find or pay a dog sitter if he wanted. He is blaming you to divert the blame from himself. You are doing what is best for you. Right. Having Hope says, I wonder if sister-in-law had anything to do with the decision. Sister-in-law's mother's dog was thrown into the mix. All this was for way below market rate for what they would likely pay OP. And Not Your Martyr responded, you know she did, because everyone was fine until he got home and suddenly he was blindsided and sister-in-law is upset. He got home and told her OP wouldn't be watching the dogs and they needed to find a dog sitter, possibly asked her to message her mom about chipping in since 2 of the dogs are hers, and she flipped her lid. Now I can understand not wanting a stranger in your house for a week, and I can think of a few reasons a boarding kennel may not be ideal for certain dogs, but unless the dogs in question are special needs, it sounds like they are spoiled. What would they have done had OP had the money to go? Right. Maybe she's saying that the brother, has money or whatever. Maybe he don't really got money like that, like she thinks. Maybe his money is tied up in something else and he had just enough to go on the trip, but not enough to go on the trip and pay for whatever it would be to board the dogs. Same with mother-in-law. Tracy Min says, whenever I go out of town for more than an overnight, I board my pets. I found a farm that has kennels and a fenced pasture for the dogs. The cats are kept in the cat room, which is a tack room in the barn. It has heat and AC. It's well worth the peace of mind and it doesn't inconvenience anyone. I've never heard of people boarding their pets at a farm, but that actually sounds kind of cool. Okay, so the last comment I'll read, Wu-Tang Mambo says, you're not being treated fairly here at all. When you say you are very emotional and may have clouded judgment, I hope you mean you're having strong, grouchy feelings because of how unfair and unreasonable your brother and your parents are being. It also wouldn't surprise me if very emotional was a criticism levied at you by your family to try to convince you not to be upset when they treat you unfairly. That would be, unfair, I totally hear you and loved that you picked up on the nuance of how, as a woman, being very emotional can have been weaponized. But I am a very emotional person in general, although I've gotten a much better handle on it as I've gotten older. Usually I see it as a strength, but I know it can also be a hurdle. So she does have an update. Update, am I the a-hole for making my family cancel their vacation because I won't watch their dogs? My brother apologized and we were having a very good and calm conversation. We were getting to a point where I was willing to make a compromise because I finally felt heard. Okay, then my sister-in-law, who had had an attitude the whole time, snappily said, okay, so what do we need to do to resolve this? Things started to get heated because I felt her tension and tried to acknowledge it. So sister-in-law is the issue. Clearly, because even from the first post, her and the brother had a level-headed conversation. Yeah, he was a little upset, but he got over it. But by the time he got home to his wife, sister-in-law, now all of a sudden he's blindsided. Sister-in-law is the problem. I said that I was really hurt by my sister-in-law's actions. I left it out of my original post, but she was complaining about helping me clean my house before my wedding. I later found out that she told my dad I had moldy dishes in the sink, and that was humiliating. I said it hurt a lot when I learned she brought it up again as part of her argument why I should watch the dogs. How can that be part of an argument? Oh, I guess the part that because she helped her? Anyway, child. She sarcastically said, oh, so I'm the villain. I said, I feel like from what I have gathered from my parents this past week, that you think I'm sabotaging this vacation because I'm jealous that I can't go. And if you think that, you really must not know me, and that hurts. And she said, with the same rude tone as earlier, I must not know you because that is 100% what I think. My eyes welled up because I felt like she had just sucker punched me, and she looked at me and said, here comes the temper tantrum. What? And the brother is just sitting here letting his wife talk to his sister like this? What? I stood up to leave. Then I turned around again and said over everyone yelling my name to calm down, if you, with all your time, money, and resources, decide to not go on vacation, that is your own decision and not because of me. I got the heck out of the house and sat in the car until my husband came out. Dang, who all was here? Was the whole family here? She didn't mention that. I thought it was just the brother, the sister-in-law, and her. Sounds like everybody was there. She was in my wedding. I have been so happy to have her as my sister-in-law. I have been nothing but loving to her. Now I see she doesn't give a crap about me. I'm gutted. It's clear that she has zero respect for me and probably never even liked me. I'm devastated because my family is everything, and I feel like my relationship with my brother will forever be altered. She is not the person I thought she was, and now I'm not only not watching the dogs, but I guess I am also accepting that I don't have a sister like I thought I did. This first comment said, not the a-hole, cut contact with sister-in-law. They're mad because you won't watch their dogs, and that's on them, not you. Exactly. Chewed on Doric said, I'm just curious about the anger displayed by sister-in-law. Her comments and responses to the conversation would have torpedoed any such discussions with anyone, including Mother Teresa. I hope the rest of the family realizes that sister-in-law is a two-faced a-hole and villain to the nth degree, not the a-hole. Oh, and here's some more context from a comment on the first post. Healer Haven said, so they get a discount by not paying you for your services and expect you to watch 5 dogs 24/7 and live apart from your spouse to do so. How much do they usually pay you for the normal 3? Because I bet it's not nearly as generous as they tell you it is. OP said, so this isn't a super common situation for us, despite what my harping on this for 10 years implies. I went over my character limit, so I couldn't add this bit of context. My brother set the precedent nearly 10 years ago that the dogs could never be alone at night because of separation anxiety, so when he was single and traveling for work, my mom had to stay the night with the dogs. And since he lived way closer than me and I had an office job, she would go back and forth to the house every 5 hours to let them out. Back then, I used to say that it wasn't fair to Mom and that he needed to hire a dog sitter. My mom loved it because the pug cuddles are amazing and they are good dogs, but I was still vocal that it was way too much to ask my mom. Last year, my husband and I bought a house a mile away from my brother, and the dog care has fallen to me because why would I make my mom continue to do that when it's easier for me? The first time I did it, I was extremely anxious, but I didn't complain because it was so my brother and sister-in-law could take a family vacation with her ailing father. I had 4 dogs then, and it was $500 for 5 days. To be completely honest, I would not have accepted the money if I hadn't just lost my job. To me, that is what family is for. There were another couple times for 1 and then 3 nights due to a family emergency with my sister-in-law's family, so again, no problem. I've dropped by a couple times to let the dogs out back to potty when asked, and even recently there was a day that neither my mom or I were available to let the pugs out when a situation came up, and I specifically told my brother he needed to have a trusted pet sitter on hand and hire them before he needs them. But this is the first time that I feel like it's completely different and not right for them to ask me to do all of this. It feels like I'm being taken advantage of, and it feels like when my mom had to stay there when my brother traveled all over again. And I'm not willing to put myself through it for a long vacation when this is exactly the scenario I've been harping on. Okay, well, she doesn't have any additional updates. This one was 10 days ago, so I guess we have to wait for something. I don't even know if she will update, but I'm glad she's not watching them dogs. And yes, if they decide to cancel their vacation, that's gonna be of their own accord, because they made the assumption that she would be watching the dogs, didn't even come to an agreement on payment, didn't ask her, none of that. And y'all planned this whole vacation just under this assumption. That's your fault. All right, next story. So this is the one that was on the Dacia's Digest subreddit. Am I the a-hole for refusing to tattoo at my cousin's wedding? Throw away because I'm not sure if my family uses Reddit. So, a little to my background, I am a tattoo artist. I've done an apprenticeship for the first year of tattooing. I work as a tattoo artist for 4 years now, and I opened a studio recently. Me and my family are invited to a wedding that is taking place in another state. My cousin is marrying, and we got the invitation a few months ago. Time has moved forward, and now the wedding is in a week already. Out of the blue, my cousin, let's call him Matt, texted me with something along the lines of, "You're gonna tattoo me on my wedding day." I was a bit confused, as I never even thought of bringing my equipment, since I also didn't plan a guest spot or anything like that. Guest spot is a tattoo artist working at another studio for a few days or weeks, mostly in a different area to grow the clientele. I jokingly asked if he has a machine, as I still hoped that he wasn't serious. He then just asked, "You don't have one?" and said that one machine wouldn't take up that much space to take with me. I replied that I didn't plan on bringing my equipment, that in fact contains more than just a machine. Color, hygiene stuff, stencil, that's the purple stuff you put on the skin, then trace the tattoo with actual needles. And that I'm not prepared to tattoo at a wedding of which I don't know anything about. The layout of the location, if it's inside or outside, and so on. He then said that he had planned on this and that it would mean a lot to him to both get a tattoo on his wedding day and that I'd be the one to tattoo him. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Remember that this is the first time I'm hearing this. I again tried to explain that I don't feel comfortable with that and that it's quite short notice, as I work until me and my brother fly over to attend the wedding, and a tattoo needs to be designed first, right? He saw my message but didn't reply anymore. This morning, my sister called and she was furious. She asked why I couldn't put my stuff together and just tattoo Matt. I told her what I've previously told Matt as well, but she didn't want to hear it. She just said it would mean a lot to her and Matt's family if I do that, and that it could be my wedding gift, and just hung up. What stake does the sister have in this? It's the cousin. Why is the sister calling about the cousin? I talked to my brother about it and he just shrugged it off and said, "It would be nice of you though." I'm unsure what to do now. As I said, I'm not really comfortable with the whole situation, especially because I've never been guest spotting, so I never had to travel, let alone get on a plane with my equipment. But is that selfish? I mean, it would mean a lot to apparently everyone, and I'm just saying no. I say not the a-hole. I mean, come on. Yeah, it would be nice. Yeah, you could probably swing it, but I feel like it's all about boundaries. Like, you're asking me this last minute. You had all this time to ask me this so that I could prepare, get my stuff together. Like, I don't even know where it's gonna be at. Like, you haven't even given any details, and and he didn't even ask. He said, "You're gonna tattoo me." I'm hard-headed. If somebody approached me like that, I would just say no just because. I don't even care if I could do it. I don't even care if I'm free. Nope, the answer is no. I'm not gonna tattoo you, sir. Sorry. Also, why does it have to be OP? Why can't he find another tattoo artist in the area that's already there, local. You don't have to jump through all these hoops. They can be prepared. That seems more logical. Dr. Siegel says, not the a-hole. If Matt had his heart set on this happening at his wedding, then he should have discussed it with you as soon as possible, not 1 week before. Geez, he knows a tattoo is permanent, right? He wants you to just show up with a kit in an unsterile environment and what? Just wing out a design on him? No prep, no planning, all on his wedding day? It would have been better if he had contacted you and gotten the tattoo done before the wedding. Then he could have revealed it at the ceremony, all healed. Getting it done on the day? For what reason? This just seems silly, but mainly not your problem. He should have given you more notice. That's on him. Maybe offer to do it at your shop after the wedding. Tell them you'll look for inspiration for the design at their wedding so it can be unique to their day. And OP said, I especially don't understand why I should tattoo at a wedding since you can't or shouldn't combine getting tattooed with drinking alcohol, and knowing Matt, there will be plenty of alcohol at this wedding. Honestly, this person said exactly what I was about to say. My guess is he probably tried to get someone else to do it closer to the venue, and either for the reasons you mentioned or because of the cost, he's just decided you should do it for sentimental reasons. Regardless, not the a-hole for not doing something you are uncomfortable with. That first part of their comment is what I was gonna say. He probably did try to look for someone closer to the venue, but then once they got all the details of what really he was trying to do, they were like, nah. And that's why it's so last minute, because now he's trying to scramble like, oh yeah, my cousin knows how to tattoo. Oh yeah, no, I could just tell him it's sentimental. Like, come on now. But OP is right. You're not supposed to mix tattooing with alcohol, and that's a major liability. Also with the unsterile environment, I would not do that. That's a major liability, because just say that someone is drunk and they get a tattoo they don't like, then they could blame you because you agreed to tattoo them while they were drunk, and it could be this whole mess. Not to mention if something gets infected, then they could say, oh, they tattooed me at this place they shouldn't have. Like, that's way too much liability for OP. I wouldn't do it. Winter Dragonfly says, let me guess. He has no prior tattoos, because any of us with tattoos knows how stupid of an ask this is 1 week before the wedding. We know everything you would have to go through to bring your equipment to this wedding. We also know mixing alcohol and getting tattooed is just stupid. I guess you have two options. Don't go to the wedding, or go to the wedding just as a guest and with no expectations of anyone getting a tattoo. If he really wanted this done, he would have gotten with you way sooner than a week before the wedding. I agree with other people answering here that he tried to get someone else there to do it, and he's had no luck, or he's figured out how expensive they are, and he figured he'll just ask you last minute, and there's no way you would say no. Right. And also, as a guest, I wouldn't want to be a service provider at a wedding. Like, I'm flying here to have fun and see my cousin get married. I'm not flying here to work. And as I said, a tattoo takes time. Depending on the size, it can be 30 minutes, it could be a few hours. So you mean to tell me you want me to sit here for a few hours and work on tattooing you when I would much rather be enjoying the reception that I spent money to come here to attend? Emergency Molasses says, I'm imagining leaving my wedding guests for an hour so I could sit and get tatted. Even a ring tattoo would take 30 plus minutes. How rude. Someone else said, not to mention, as soon as others find out, it's going to turn into a tattoo party, and OP is not going to be a guest for the wedding. They are going to be an unpaid prop giving out tattoos as party favors. Exactly. I did not come here to work. A commenter quoted the post and said, they planned this as a wedding gift, end quote. From you? Because that's pretty presumptuous And against some kind of like wedding etiquette, I always thought any mention of gifts by the wedding couple was some kind of faux pas, not the a-hole. Opie said especially since they have an actual list of things they want to be gifted. I mean, there was a point that said artwork, but if they wanted me to tattoo Matt as a gift, they could and should have reached out as they sent out their list. Another comment, and is there a honeymoon happening right after the wedding? If they're going anywhere where swimming is involved, he won't be able to swim with a fresh tattoo. Opie said, I thought of that too. They're going to Bali. I doubt that he had considered not being able to go swim or being in the sun at all. Another comment, they're being unreasonable and making things weird for no reason. Not the a-hole, and I just wouldn't go if they keep being like this. And Opie said, I did think about not attending. It would be sad not to, but this is also very uncomfortable, and I don't think everyone has let go of it by then. So for the edit on the first post, edit 1, I do have an actual wedding gift already, as they sent out a wish list with their invitations. There was a point that said artwork because they recently moved into a bigger house, and apparently they want random artwork to decorate. I oil painted them a painting I spent several days on, so I also don't plan to give him a voucher as a gift. 2, Maddie doesn't have any tattoos as far as I know. So he wants to get his first tattoo at his wedding reception? What? What? I'm at a loss for words. I'm speechless. 3, I don't know what my mom's problem is with all of this. I think she just wants to keep the peace. Okay, so the next post. Update since my update got banned because I posted another update. So the last hours have been a lot. First of all, I called my mom and wow, she asked me again, this time very friendly, if I want to tattoo Maddie at his wedding. And again, I said no, with all the reasons I've previously given her, plus some of the very good points you guys had. Before she could say anything else, I added that I felt like she wouldn't take me and tattooing seriously. She didn't say anything for a bit until she tried to explain that she really thought it wasn't a big deal. I told her again that it is, and that my mom of all people should know how my job works. She agreed and apologized profusely. I then asked her if she'd like to attend and watch me work on a client's appointment, and to my surprise, she said yes. Okay. Mom is tagging along tomorrow. Now to Maddie, or rather his bride. I finally got a hold of the bride, let's say her name is Becky, and asked her about the request her fiance confronted me with. She seemed surprised as she apparently had heard from my aunt that I made them something for their new house. She assumed it would be a painting since I'm the artist of the family, and it's known that I also paint. I confirmed that, but also that Maddie has come forward with this idea out of the blue and that it's not a good idea for many reasons. She agreed with me immediately. I think she does have tattoos. She thanked me for telling her as no one else did. Becky seemed really mad, but she seemed to pull herself together. I would have lost it. I'm assuming Becky confronted Matt after our call because only 3 to 4 hours later, I checked the family group chat and there was a message from Becky. There will be no ceremony on the 13th as Matt and I decided we aren't getting married. What? How did it escalate so quickly? What happened? Oh my goodness. Matt and I have things to figure out, so please text or call us tomorrow if you have questions. For the rest of the day, we'll be on flight mode. After dinner, Becky called me and apologized for Matt again. She said it was a stupid idea of his, that he just thought it would be cool. She then informed me that she still wants me to fly over for the wedding day as she will be hosting a party instead of a wedding. I think that's a good idea though. I when I read these stories about how people like aren't getting married or whatever, if it were me, I'd be throwing a party because everything is paid for. We already got the catering, the alcohol, the venue, the music, everything. Everybody already bought their tickets, their accommodations, the guests. Like we leaving here with something. It might not be a ring or an I do, but we leaving here with something. I asked if they broke up. She said, not yet, but I'm gonna stay at my sister's place until next week. I'm assuming Matt hasn't been too great, but I'm sure I'll hear about it. Apparently, my brother and my mom aren't invited. Interesting. My call must have been the last straw, but as far as I'm concerned, Becky is handling it gracefully, and Matt will be okay too, I'm sure. So I'm going to a party, but did I just make a new friend? Thanks y'all for having my back. I don't know, sounds like Becky is plotting and scheming. Okay. So one comment, I love how mom went a full 180 there. I'm a little shocked the bride canceled the wedding over this one thing. Did she just have no clue her fiance was as impulsive as he turned out to be? Opie said, I don't think it's the only thing that has happened, but as I said, I'll probably hear about it at the party, and if not from Becky, I'm sure there are some of her friends that like to spill the tea. Here's the next update. Welcome back. I'm finally done writing this. This is 4 days later, 6 days from the original post. Thanks to everyone coming back and reading this. I appreciate y'all and love that you are enjoying the tea. So, because a lot of you wanted to know how the bring your mom to work day was, I picked her up in the morning and we headed to the studio. I showed her around, told her a few background stories about some of the artworks and photos that are hanging on our walls, and explained to her my routine as I prepared everything. My client arrived and I handled it like I usually would, just with my mom sitting there. I explained every step of the process, and she also asked me questions about my ink, needles, technique, etc. It was a lot of fun having her around, and she really did surprise me with her openness and interest. When I was done with tattooing, my mother had to leave for work, but thanked and hugged me for bringing her along, as she not only enjoyed spending time with me, but also loved seeing, I'm sorry, some of these stories sneak up on me. Like it's just like a happy update, and sometimes they just sneak up on me with overwhelming feelings of happiness. Okay, but thanked and hugged me for bringing her along, as she not only enjoyed spending time with me, but also loved seeing me doing my job so professionally, and said that she sees my work and efforts now. Honestly, tattoo artist is a really cool profession in my opinion. Like I have I have like 5 tattoos. 1, 2, 3. I think I have 5 tattoos, but I like tattoos, and I think it's, if I could be a tattoo artist, I would, but my drawing skills are subpar. To the wedding/party. The party started at 1400 as the ceremony was canceled. I arrived and was immediately welcomed by Becky's sister. She hugged me and helped me with my painting. Everyone was outside drinking and having a small bite already. I went to say hi to Becky, and she hugged me warmly. She seemed tired, but otherwise fine. Becky was also smiling a lot, which surprised me. Sis was ready to get out that relationship. She was stressed. She was probably looking for any little thing to be like, come on, how can we end this immediately? I want to be done. She got a whole weight off her shoulders. She lost 180 pounds of dead weight. I went to mingle as I didn't want to start off with questioning her. I met a lot of her friends, and apparently the most of them weren't too fond of Matt. I heard a few things of how he tried to change Becky to be more like his ex and stuff like that. Not a great look, Maddie. Speaking of, not a single friend or relative of Matt was around, besides me and one other cousin. Later, as we sat down to eat, I asked if I could join Becky's table. They said yes, so I was sitting with Becky, her sister, and 3 of her friends. I introduced myself to one of them. I haven't talked to them before, and Becky added that I'm Matt's cousin, the one who was supposed to tattoo. A simultaneous, oh, "Oh," came from everyone. And with that, the conversation was about Matt from the get-go. I asked what happened. The sister just rolled her eyes and was like, "What didn't?" Oh gosh. Becky and friends told me a while ago, Matt has apparently started to pick on Becky for being herself in various ways. It started small, like asking her to change her sports routine from workouts to only running. Then he criticized her cooking as he prefers to eat more meat and more traditionally. They discussed these topics and it always seemed fine, but he didn't stop. He asked her if she could let her hair grow or get extensions, and speaking of hair, if she could get it brighter. Becky has shoulder-length black hair. More and more seemed to pile up until he also started to make comments along the lines of, "Can't you be more like my ex?" As I understand it, he didn't say it specifically, but it was clear he meant it like that. His ex is from Texas. Hey, Texas, chill. I'm from Texas, if you didn't know. Anyway, I got excited. I was shocked. I asked why she didn't break up because of that, but Becky explained that in the situation, it didn't seem as bad as when you list those reasons. She had also made a few changes to make Matt happy, but continued to do what she wanted most of the time. Time went on and the issues resurfaced again and again in different ways. The last big fight was only a few weeks ago when Maddie called Becky by his ex's name. Oh man, they somehow settled this, so let's skip forward to when I called Becky about the tattoo idea. After our call, she went up to Matt and asked him why he didn't talk to her about it and why he would just decide about doing something like that on their wedding day. He explained that he wanted to surprise her. Becky went on telling him this wasn't happening and that she wanted to be able to enjoy the wedding and their honeymoon. Again, they seemed to agree in the end and he apologized. But later, this almost threw me. As Becky was starting to cook dinner and Matt was sitting at the counter, they talked about tattoos again. Apparently, really chill discussion about tattoos in general, and Becky asked him playfully what he intended on getting tattooed. He gestured across his chest and said, "I want my birth date, our wedding date, and your birth date," and he listed off all 3 dates. Becky said she went blind for a millisecond. That 3rd date was in fact not her birthday. She asked him again and he repeated the same dates. She then said that this wasn't her birth date and he persisted that it was and that she should stop trying to fool him. She said she started to cry and ran to get her purse to show him her driver's license, and that's when his face slipped. He tried to get out of it by making excuses that he isn't good with dates, etc., but Becky just went straight to her phone and checked Facebook. She found his ex's profile showing her birthday. It was the date he would have gotten tattooed on his chest if I hadn't said no and also called Becky. My dumbass cousin would have ended up with the birthday of his ex-girlfriend next to his wedding date. Becky said she more or less told him it was over and that this is enough. She started to immediately reorganize the whole wedding and honeymoon while kicking him out of the house. A bit later, she called me back. She also mentioned that she didn't want to say what happened on the phone as she thought I might tell my family and she really didn't want to hear about it. Fair, I get that. Becky changed the honeymoon booking and is now taking her best friend. Also, if you're wondering, Becky's dad is currently the owner of their house as they agreed to slowly pay him back. Due to his financial wealth and stability, that made more sense this way. As far as I know, Becky is going to stay there. Anyway, that's the tea, folks. This was truly a wild ride, and I'm pretty sure Becky and I are going to be good friends. We really hit it off. I don't have much dignity left for Matt, so I'm not sure I'll keep the contact at all. P.S. Becky loved my painting. Becky loved your painting, did she? Okay, OP. Let's go to the update, because I skimmed through it and I saw something. Actually, there's 2 new updates, y'all. One was a week ago. The other one was 4 hours ago. The first one says, mini update. Hi everyone, not sure if anyone still cares, but I thought I'd give a tiny update on how everything went. First of all, since that question came up a few times, I'm a woman. Well, Becky and her bestie went to Bali as they planned. During her vacation, we texted quite a bit. Then they came back and we were still texting. First, it was all very superficial and polite, as she thanked me for telling her about the whole tattoo thing, that I showed up to the party anyways, and that I still gifted her my painting, etc. We got into other stuff, like music, movies, and hobbies, and we have a lot in common. Turns out she is just as nerdy as me, so we could connect over anime and different games. I never had a female friend to share these interests. She's also coming over for a few days next week. I'm super excited. Anyway, I'm super happy how everything went and to see that Becky is doing very good without my cousin. I think she's truly relieved and is beautifully blooming. Thank you guys for your messages and comments. Someone said, that's great, by the way. Have you heard from Maddie? Opie said, nothing direct. I've talked to his mother though. Apparently, he actually did try to reach out to his ex, but I have no idea what's going on there. Ciao. Anyway, so then the next update, Becky asked me out. I'm very excited. Becky asked me out on a date. It's only in October, as she wants to take it slow and needs more time since the wedding wasn't that long ago, but she wanted to make her current feelings clear to me. So that will be, this was literally today, 4 hours ago. So July, August, September, October. Well, it's about to be August, September. So like 2 months-ish. Wow. I knew it was coming because the way Becky was acting so friendly, like, oh, you can come to the party. That's great. All right. So that is the last main read for the video, and then we have the palette cleanser. This was also posted on our Dacia's Digest subreddit, so just a reminder to subscribe if you haven't already. Just take a look over to your subscription button and double check. Just double check. And let me get into this last story. Department manager wants me to stay late to finish all duties? Sure. This happened a couple of years ago in December 2019. I got a job at a higher-end grocery store in the area, and I was planning on saving for when I started college in the fall of 2020. The store has all kinds of different departments, like a market cafe, a pizza/sub shop, cheese, etc. I aced my interview, and I was hired in the bakery department specifically for breads only. That will be important later. The first 4 months was a breeze, but after COVID ramped up, my doctor put me on leave until August. When I returned, a lot of people had quit in the bakery. I was taking college classes now, so I was working night shift part-time from 5 to 9 p.m. My department manager, Hannah, informed me that they were short-staffed on nights and I might be on my own 1 day a week. I was sure I would be getting help for the rest of the nights. Nope. Weeks go by and I barely get help. I'm burning myself out doing closing shift on my own along with my schoolwork. No one was in the dessert or breakfast section, and I can't talk to anyone about it because they're gone by the time I clock in. I complained to the bread manager, Jim, and he told me to talk to Hannah since she runs the whole department. Sure, fine. This is how the conversation went with Hannah. The enzyme theater has opened. Let me get my Let me get my voices ready. All right. OP, hey, I wanted to talk to you about the workload. A lot of day shift people leave their mess and can't clean up after themselves. I have to do that and my duties, which isn't fair. Are you hiring anybody for nights? I can't keep running around and using my inhalers so much too. Hannah, oh yeah, we're having a hard time filling the night shift roles. We could always train you for desserts and breakfast. OP, that's not what I meant. I meant assistance, not more responsibility. I can't do everything in the bakery and close with only 4 hours. Hannah, well, you can figure something out. Just make sure you don't leave a mess during closing though. You can't leave until everything is done. I was a theater kid in high school, if you can't tell. Anyways, I can't leave until everything is done? Okay. Ever since she said that, I started documenting every time I had to do 3 jobs at once. I would take my sweet time when I didn't have class the next day, making sure I clocked out at 11 p.m. each time. The amount of stuff that kept piling was ridiculous, but I was simply following her instructions. HR noticed my clock in and out times and wanted me to come by their office. I told them everything, including what Hannah said to me, along with the photos I took. Suddenly, everything changed. At 9 o'clock sharp, they were kicking me out, and whatever was left was for the morning. Hannah was reprimanded but wasn't fired until she was caught selling 2-year-old expired pumpkin pies to customers during Thanksgiving. That day sure was a doozy. I was shocked when I saw all those empty boxes she already sold. Whoa, why would you do that? TLDR, my department manager tells me to clean up day shift's mess, including closing duties for the whole bakery. I made sure I took an extra 2 hours every shift to close. She got in trouble and was fired soon after for something unrelated. Photos for context. I'm glad I didn't delete them. Even the mess up day shift had by leaving bagels in the proof box all day expecting me to clean it. Joke's on them, I didn't. They also hid dishes in the freezer and boxes from the health inspector. Truly ridiculous. And this is considered a high-end grocery store. Edit, I was working morning shift and saw many of the habits they had when I was first hired, but it didn't affect me until I was working night shift alone. I had no idea how bad it was until I experienced it. During mornings, I always made sure to clean up after myself, even the bread slicer, which can have caked on mess by the afternoon. Opie said, for those curious about the pumpkin pie incident, we were all working overtime and preparing for Thanksgiving. I heard from this older lady that works day shift that she was cleaning out the freezer and found 2-year-old pies from a vendor we package and sell. She was asking Hannah what to do with them because there were a lot of them. I forgot how many were in a box. Hannah said, just put a label on them and place them on display. We can get more profit that way. Excuse me, what? The older woman said she was shocked and used her PTO to leave early. She was scared of jeopardizing her job, but she told me it was weighing on her conscience and told the store manager. I truly forgot the woman's name, but she was extremely nice to me. There were about 7 large boxes full of mini and large pumpkin pies. Hannah was promptly fired. Sweet karma. Child, she deserved it. I wouldn't want to wish, a loss of income on anyone, but it was adding up. It was coming. It was to be expected for that to happen. All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching. Shout out to the people who added to our subreddit, and I will see you in the next video.